Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Childcare Business Success Show. I'm Julie Bartkus, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you this evening. We are talking about childcare business success. Anyone interested? If you're here tuning in, say hello. Let me know how things are going and where you're tuning in from. And we've got a great show for you lined up this evening. I am going to be talking to you a little bit about the backbone of your vision. Does anybody know what that is? And I sent out an email earlier today. If anybody's on my email list, you probably got clued in a little bit as to what that is. But I believe that you could totally change everything in your childcare program if you do one thing. And that one thing is cultivating your vision and bringing it to life in a big, powerful way. Now, that's one side of the story. And a lot of clients come to me and childcare owners and directors say, Julie, but how do we bring that vision to life? And it's through what I call the backbone of your vision. And that backbone of your vision is your story. When is the last time that you shared your story with your staff or your parents or on your website in a very strong and powerful way? And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about this evening. And I also have a special guest joining us, Tony DAgostino, and we're working on his video or his audio right now. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on and hear what he has to say. But he's going to be sharing with us his success story about how he came to be a multi-site childcare owner and the founder of Inspire 360, which is a company that he founded to support childcare owners and directors. So when I talk about vision, let's just start here. We're going to talk about story. And joining us in a little bit is going to be our Chief of Happiness, Loretta. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about the prizes that we have for you. She's en route right now. But remember, for the most engaged person on this evening's show, we've got some of the yummiest brownies on the planet. My team is here to help interact with you. Jana is here. Hey, Jana. Hey, Diana. Nice to see you here. Who else is joining in? I'm going to check some of the comments. Deidre. Hey, Deidre. Stephanie, nice to see you here. Mindy, fantastic. Thanks for getting our cat theme started in our Childcare Business Success page. All right, cool. So the person who's the most engaged this evening is going to get some of the yummiest brownies on the planet. And the person who's most engaged or has been engaged the most over the past week in our Childcare Business Success group is also going to get a marketing video that my team will prepare and get done for you. So if you've been engaged in our Childcare Business Success group, hang on tight because you might be the winner of that prize. And we'll be announcing prize winners at the end of this evening's show. And if you're not yet a member of the group, I encourage you to check it out. Jana will pop in the link for you so that you can access the group, our Childcare Business Success group, and we've got an international community. And I encourage you to come on over and join us. All right, lots of hellos going on to each other. Great. All right. And Loretta, give me a thumbs up when you feel like you're ready to pop in and say hello. We'll have you do that at the start, and then we'll have you come back at the end and also announce our prize winners. Also, if there's anybody who you know who can benefit from tuning into this show, please make sure you share this out. Let them know about the program that's happening right now to address your issues. So the topic tonight, let me know if you're interested in this or what questions you have about your story. And I got a couple questions that filtered in via email today, so I'll be answering those, but I wanted to just let you know, first of all and foremost, that your story is the backbone of your vision. And so often we think, well, how do we engage our staff? How do we create more parent engagement? And my approach and my methodology is to always be sharing your story. And I'm always very inspired when I call a company and all the employees know the company's story. And I often share stories about how I got sold on different companies because of the story that they were sharing. And one was a restaurant, while another one was a company that dealt with holistic health products, and one was bone broth soup. And I remember calling this one company, asking them, what is it about this product and why should I order it? Why do people get it? And one of the employees, who was a telephone representative, said, Julie, let me share with you the owner's story. And they talked to me about digestive issues and skin issues and different things that I could relate to. And she shared with me how the owner of the company went on this journey to really heal himself in a holistic way and discovered the power of bone broth soups along the way. So she shared with me in a very powerful way his story that really connected me to their vision. And that's the really cool thing. When you tell your story the right way, it really makes that connection. And people don't remember often the facts and figures and different things that you're trying to sell them about your childcare program, but they will remember how they felt. So that's really important. And how they feel is a result of the stories that you tell and the stories that you share. So, how many of you have a story? Let me write up here. Your story. I'm going to write a little note. Okay, so your story is the backbone of your vision. All right. Like me in here a little more. Okay, so your story is the backbone of your vision. And a lot of times we're thinking, well, what is the vision? We don't know what the vision is. But if you start with the story, you could easily cultivate your vision out of that. And then you could even cultivate what your goals are and what your values are from the story that you're sharing. And there's a whole methodology that I have in place to do that. But when it comes to your story, keep in mind that number one, it's important to share it. Number two is to tell a story in a way that emotionally connects people to you. So often when we go to tell our stories become stories of victimization or our struggles. And all of that is good. And there may be some things that people can relate to with those stories, but you want to make sure that your story will connect a pain that you went through or a challenge that you went through with somebody else's pain or their struggle. So it might be maybe your story, part of it is that you really had problems conceiving children. And maybe there's a lot of parents who also can connect with that issue, or maybe they'll value your stance to create your own childcare program because they understand and can relate to your feeling of what a miracle the little children are because they went through great lengths to get pregnant and bring a new life into this world. So, how can you use your story to connect with the pain or the challenges that others are facing? Now, this is true with your staff as well, is that you can tell a story in such a way that really pulls your staff in to your story and to your vision. And that's what we want to have happen. So those are going to be some of the things that we talk about. If you've got questions about your story, if you've got questions about cultivating it or how to tell it, please list those for me below. And hopefully Tony will be back on to join us. But in the meantime, I want to welcome Loretta, our Chief of Happiness, who many of you have gotten to know, like, and love in our Childcare Business Success Group, up to our program, up to the studio. So she can say hello. Hey, Loretta.
Hello, how are you? I've missed you so much.
I have missed you too. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Let me get your name up here. All right, cool. So we've got some prize giveaways this evening.
Oh, yay. Oh, I've missed sending brownies. Oh, my goodness. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. So we're looking for engagement this evening, right? And that's the person who
Absolutely.
gets the brownies this evening.
Yes, 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 yes.
So let me ask you, tonight we are talking about stories, and this is going to catch you totally off guard. But tell me, has there ever been a time where you've been pulled in by somebody's story? Maybe it was about little houses that really pulled you into buying that product or that service that created just such a tremendous connection for you.
I'm sure that there are many of them because the story is what sells products. For me, growing up, I was surrounded by a story with my dad's business, and I learned about stories very early on. So I think probably my first opportunity to share a story was my dad's story. So, I mean, it's something that I have done and connected with since early childhood.
Awesome. Awesome. So your dad's story was something that you connected to. Now, what about different childcare programs that you worked with or worked for? Have you ever been pulled in by the story and say, you know what? If it's choice A or choice B, I really feel connected here with this person. And then later on, you realize, well, wow, they had a powerful story that really emotionally connected me.
My career has been a lot with corporate centers, and in corporate centers, there's not as much of a chance to tell a super personal story, but I think the story or the thing that would get to me was the philosophy behind what it was that they were doing and accomplishing, and then from that point building the relationships with the kids. So what I love about the centers that you work with is they are more story based, from this is my center and this is my story. And to me, that is just the most beautiful thing, because it truly comes from a place of personal experience and personal pain or joy, whatever that might be, rather than a corporate idea of, hey, this will be fun and this is a great way to make money. So I really value that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've even have our childcare owners who say, well, you know what? I had an employee come in and they had a choice or a chance to make more money working somewhere else, but they chose to work here because they so connected with the story of who we are and what we're about. So when you make those powerful connections with people, you're going to draw in a whole slew of staff members to you.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that over and over and over again. Yeah. And whenever I hear somebody speak, or whenever I go to a restaurant, maybe you do this too, I'm always looking at, like in the restaurant example, I'm looking at the placemats or the wall. And if there's a story on it, I'm more intrigued and more engaged with that restaurant. Have you ever had that experience?
Yes, we have an Italian restaurant here called Why Not? The letter Y and then not. And it was started by a man named Tony. And he turned his name around and it became Why Not? And
Oh,
I
that's
love to go there because they have a story and they have just, there's history. And the food, of course, is delicious, which doesn't hurt. Yes, and Olivia's right here saying, they have food. They
they
make
have food.
peanut
Hey,
butter and jelly pizza
Olivia.
she loves.
Right. Hey. That's our special guest star, Olivia. Nice to see you. But that's a really good story. So you heard the story once, you remember it, and it's like, oh, I got to go back.
Yep.
And that's what happens. And this is why they say people remember jokes, because it's like a story. It's a story that's unfolding, a joke. People remember the joke and they could go back and retell the joke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very powerful to cultivate that story. So if you've got a story and you're tuning into this, but you need help cultivating it, or you have questions around it, please feel free to ask me and I will do my best to answer your questions. And even if Tony doesn't come back, hopefully he'll come back and join us, but he was having problems with his audio and getting on live with us. So we want to be able to help you cultivate your story. And what we can do, and we did this at our last event at our leadership intensive that followed the Create My Dream Team experience, is one of our clients, Angela, she had this story, but she didn't really know how to tell it. So she told it to me and I picked out all the different points that I connected to. I wrote them on a flip chart and then I went back through and reiterated her story in this powerful, emotionally connected way. And everybody was like, whoa, that's good. So don't think that your story is too minimal to tell, because it makes a difference. And especially if you're like one of our male clients, John Skirty, in this industry, it's going to transform your enrollments if you start the tour process by telling the story, your why, of why your childcare program exists. Were you there with us when John shared his story?
I heard just a little bit of his story. He was apprehensive to share it, but once he got started, it was a really beautiful story.
Yeah, and he shared it in a powerful way with us at one of our programs in Lake Geneva, and it makes a huge difference. People often ask me about transforming their results, and I always say, oh, it comes back to your story. It comes back to your story. All right. So I will go ahead and put you back down in the studio, Loretta, unless you want to stay on and talk about stories.
You're good. No, keep going. Hi.
All right, so I'm just going to go on and I'll do a little bit of teaching and some strategies around stories. And then we'll see if Tony will come back on. And Jana, if you've heard from Tony and there's news to report, you could send me through a little box and I'll check that. But otherwise, I will answer any questions about stories. So I will scroll through the comments, see if we've got any coming through. And Loretta, if you can make sure that you point those out to me when you're back in the studio so that I can get those answered for everybody. Okay.
Good.
We'll see ya. I'll pull you back up to announce our prize winners.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Loretta. All right. Let me go back and see if we've got some comments. So I'm going to let me type in here. All right. So again, we're talking about stories. So let me see if we've got any comments coming in here. So Diana, you got your story together. Mindy, how is your story? Hey, Gail, nice to have you here. Deidre, let me show this. I have a story I think I need to refine to connect to more people. Yeah, absolutely. And your story process is always about refining and it's always about telling it. And there's a lot of organizations who don't even have a real story, but they create a fictitious story because they know the power of it in connecting clients and connecting employees to their vision and to their mission. So the story is a very powerful force. So what's your story? All right, let me go ahead and hide Deidre. All right. Okay. So what's your story? Let me just get back up here. You guys want to know about stories. Somebody asked me, hang on a minute, I'm here typing here. All right. So what's your story? So somebody asked me, well, hey, how much information do I share about my story, Julie? How much is too much? And one of the guidelines that I have is to make sure that you are connecting with people's challenges. So if you have parents who are struggling to find childcare, struggling to find somebody who they can trust, is that anything that you can relate to in your story? And why not share it? Because your story is going to make those emotional connection points, which are going to sell people on your story. They're going to sell people on your vision. And a lot of times when I work with organizations, their vision is something that's very old. It was created maybe 5, 10, 20 years ago. And what we do is we revisit the vision. And one of the ways that we start is just by having an open evening where we share the story, we share the why. And a lot of times the story from childcare program to childcare program to childcare program can sound the same. But what's different about each story is your personal interpretation of it and the emotions that you felt. So one of our clients, Mary, worked through her story. And her story was all about having her baby in her arms, looking for quality childcare, leaving her child at that first childcare program, only to pick her child up at the end of the day with her child in tears. And she made a commitment to herself that she would never feel that way, that her child was sad or lonely or not being treated correctly while at childcare for herself and then for her community. So that's why she went on a mission to create her own childcare center. And now Mary has developed all these other visions as an outflow of what that initial vision was. So when you tell your story, and I guarantee you after secretly shopping hundreds of childcare programs, people are not in tune or connecting with the story. And the story should be told during the tour process. An extension of the story and the vision should be on the website. Also, in the way that you answer phones, it should also be in your employee handbooks and your staff handbooks, and your marketing should all be an extension of what your story is. And then the story can be cultivated in different ways in your workplace to really bring it to life. So when we look at the number one engagement strategy for parents and for staff, I really believe wholeheartedly that it's cultivating your vision, sharing your vision, having tangible items around your childcare program that are representations of your vision, and using your story to expand that vision every single day. So, what's your story? Do you have one? If you do, share it in our comments, whether you're tuning in live or to the replay. I want to know, what is your story? And when you look at cultivating your story, there are 3 questions that you can ask yourself to formulate your story. Are you ready for these 3 questions? If you're ready for these questions, go ahead and say, yes, Julie, I'm ready for these questions below. And I want to share with you these secret questions that will help you deep dive a little bit and really get in tune with what your story is. And these are powerful questions, but once I reveal them to you, you're going to say, well, wow, that was pretty simple. So here are the 3 questions. All right, Mindy, thank you. I'll show Mindy's comment here. Mindy says, yep, I'm ready. And okay. And let's see what Tara says here. Whoops, that's Jana. Tara, my chef often shares my story, and it has become their story because they believe in it so much. Absolutely. Tara, that is absolutely brilliant. Your story should become their story. But what we also want to do in your story, there's 3 components. I'm going to share with you 3 questions, but you also want to make sure that your story is inspirational, that your story is informational, and that your story also connects your values. So that's really important because you could intertwine your values of your story or in your story so that it becomes very memorable items. All right. So let's see. Okay. So the 3 questions to developing your story. And when I share these with you, you're going to go, wow, that was really simple. However, when was the last time you asked yourself these 3 questions? And when was the last time you shared these questions with your staff, or the answers to these questions, in a really powerful way so that they remember your story? But when I work with my childcare owner and director clients, the first thing I ask them, and Tony's back on, so we're going to go through these questions with Tony in just a couple of moments. But the first question, so get ready, Tony, here are your questions. Okay. So the first question is why? Why do you do what you do? And that's the foundational part of developing your story. Then the next question is, well, actually, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So this is my why. And then the next question is going to be my what. What difference does it make? So why do you do what you do? And what difference does it make? Then the next question goes back to why. Why does that matter? So one of the really important things with your story and telling it is that you get emotionally connected to it. And oftentimes I get calls from owners who say, Julie, my staff's not emotionally connected. Everybody's disengaged. And the question I go back to is, well, how engaged are you with your vision? How emotionally connected are you to your story? And oftentimes owners will go, okay, that's what's missing. But I believe that everything in your childcare program can change on a dime once you get the vision and the story right so that people are emotionally connected to it. So the questions I ask are why, what, and why. Why do you do what you do? What difference does that make? And why does that matter? So you really want to get to a place with your story where you are from the bottom of your heart saying that if one child misses out on the opportunity to enroll in our childcare program, they're missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime. And that's a sense of urgency that we want to create around the story that we're telling and around our vision. If one child misses out on the opportunity to enroll in our childcare program, they miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. And if we're not sharing that and breathing that deeply and passionately into our staff every single day, we're missing out on an opportunity to really actively engage our staff and our clients. And this is where I see the biggest transformation happen in terms of call outs or absenteeism or turnover or inappropriate work behaviors, is people getting back in touch with the vision. So does that make sense? All right. So, Deidre's sharing her story. All right. Good story sharing in the chat. All right. Mindy's got her first staff meeting next week. Let's see what she has to say. And I will be sharing my story so more connections can be made. Absolutely, Mindy. Fantastic. Good to hear you. And Deidre sharing her story. And Deidre and I cultivated her story together. And one of the things that Deidre and I did is I was actually on site with her childcare program. And we told Deidre's story. And then we asked her team, what did you connect with? And all of her staff wrote down different things that they connected with in the story. And then from there, we cultivated and spent time crafting her vision. So this was some on-site work that we did, but this is a powerful way that if you don't have your vision alive as the leading force in your organization, you could reverse engineer the vision based upon what the story is. So tell the story, ask your team, what do they connect with? And then take those strong connection points, and those become points or values, but those things are incorporated into your vision statement. And then there's a YouTube video out there somewhere when I was on site with Deidre, but we went through this process. And by the time that her team left actually it was only 4 hours into the program. So we had 4 hours together, but her team was so on fire. They were cheering her. They were excited because they were part of cultivating the vision and super connected in that moment to the story. Deidre, you remember that? And you could let everybody know if there was cheering going on. But everybody's like, woohoo, they were on fire about the story. So speaking of story, I'm going to welcome our special guest, Tony DAgostino, into our studio, who's going to share with us his story of how he went from just, the initial phases of thinking about childcare to becoming a multi-site owner and the founder of Inspire 360, which is a service that he set up to totally support childcare owners in their journey of creating more childcare business success. So Tony, I'm going to move you up to the studio here, and hopefully we could hear you. Otherwise, maybe you know sign language. And we could go from there. Hey, Tony. Oh, can I hear you? Oh. So we might still be having a problem with your audio. Yeah, I still can't hear you. I wish I had a solution here. I wish I could jump over there. I'm not sure what it is. Did you try opening in different browsers? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I know sometimes people, if they have problems, they'll go like into Chrome or into Explorer. In the meantime, do you know sign language? No. So it's a whole other way of sharing the story. All right. Let me see here. I'm going to see what Johnny has to say. Can't hear you well. I was not sure if you will hear him. Okay. So Tony is not able to hear me that well, and I can't hear him. So I'm not sure if it's just a problem with his computer. So we'll see that. So let's hear what Deidre has to say. We'll keep the show going. All right. So Deidre says, and I believe that almost everyone that was there is still with me. That's fantastic. So that shows how having an engaging story really works. But it's taking time out just to cultivate it and craft it in a very powerful way. So yes, I'm not sure if we'll be able to have Tony's story this evening, but we'll have him come back. And Deidre shared her story in our chat. So if you're tuning in, please make sure that you read that. All right. Let me know if there's any questions that you have regarding cultivating your story or bringing that to life, and I'll be more than happy to answer those this evening. The information that you don't want to share when you're sharing your story are things that, like I said earlier, that put you in the victimized role. So there are things, there's lots of parts of your stories. What's your golden nugget? Mindy, let's see here. My golden nugget for the night. What is it, Mindy? Reveal it. All right. So, the big part of your story is knowing when is too much, because a story can have all different kinds of branches. So if you think about your story as a tree, it could branch off in so many different directions. And you could tell a little bit of a different version of your story when you're speaking to staff, or when you're speaking to the business community, as I recommend all of you do, is get involved with being a speaker. Don't just go to events, but go be a speaker at events and share your story. This is a way to expand your vision. And when we're talking about engaging people with your childcare program quickly, there is no quicker way than getting out into the community and sharing your vision, sharing your story, period. It is very powerful. But a lot of people get stuck with their stories. They don't know which part to share, which part not to share. So think about your story as a tree. And you really want to keep your tree focused on the branches that are going to most impact the people's lives who are listening to the story. So your story could go in all different directions, whether it's, battle with cancer that you had, this or that or that or that. But remember, the whole point of selling or sharing your story is so that you can connect with whoever is listening to you. So don't share a story that may not connect anybody. And this is why it's really good to share your story and to share it often, because then you could be asking people, what did you connect with? Or seeing what people connected with when they shared their story. So it's really powerful, really good stuff. All right, so let's see what Mindy's golden nugget was. Her golden nugget was tell my story to my staff and ask them why connects them to me. Yes. Okay, so ask them what connects you to me. Why did you connect to the story? What parts of it? But then you can craft your story, get it up on your website so that you can connect with parents and future staff members. Now, one of our clients, Mary, she had a staff member, a potential new staff member who was contemplating working for her or working for somebody else. And because when she came to that interview, the potential new staff member, Mary shared her story in a very powerful way, that staff member, even though they were going to make more money working somewhere else, they felt incredibly connected to Mary and her story, and they accepted a position with her, and they stayed on with her for a very long time. I'm not sure if they're still there, but it was a very high quality staff member. So story connects people. And a lot of referrals in your childcare program will come from people who know, like, and trust you, but have never done business with you. And this is why when you share your story with the community, it's going to help them make more referrals to your childcare program so that you can experience some exponential growth in your childcare program. So, all right, let's see. Any other questions? Let's see what Tara has to say. Ooh, hey, Tara. I've always learned from a young age that healthy choices will lead to healthy lifestyle. I felt this needed to be shared with the youngest of children. I decided to start a preschool where health, wellness, and academics became one. I believe when your children are exposed to leading healthy lifestyle, they are more exposed to learning a healthy lifestyle, or they're more likely to continue this lifestyle as they grow, just like I did. Oh, that's so true. What a fantastic story. Now I have families sharing that their children chose carrots and dip over chips. They have a love for beet hummus and enjoy making fruit and veggie smoothies. All right, Tara, see, that's really cool because that's also defining the culture of your childcare program and defining what kind of staff you bring on board too. Because oftentimes we're always on a quest to have healthier staff, and then we're not doing things that are necessarily healthy in the workplace. But this is part of the culture that you want to cultivate. What an incredible story to share so that you're attracting those people who are healthy and parents who are healthy and really have that common value. And that's why your story is so critically important. And one of our clients, Cindy, her story is all about becoming a Christian childcare program. And she was really on the fence as to, do I share this? Do I not share this? Will I alienate some people with my story while attracting others? And I encouraged her, you really got to step over the side of the, to one side of the fence, share your story and not worry about attracting everybody to your childcare program. Because when you look at your childcare program, you only have 10 spots or 20 spots or 30 spots open. And your community might be 10,000 or 20,000 people. Do you really want to attract everybody? I don't think so. I think you want to attract the right people who are in alignment with your vision, the people who are in alignment with your values. And that's how you get really dreamy with your childcare program, is by having those common values, common stories, being in alignment with that. But you can't attract those people if you're not sharing it, which is another great thing about if you're out in the community, sharing your story, telling your story, it expands your vision. It really does. It puts you in a whole different energetic state of mind by sharing your story with people. So if you're at a low energetic point, think about starting your day by calling 3 people and sharing your vision and sharing your story, and then watching how that will transform your mood and transform your energy in your childcare program. So often we come into our childcare programs, we get right into the knit and grit of getting things done, and we're not cultivating the vision, we're not cultivating the story, and then we get burnt out. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock comes around, and we forget our why. So you've got to do your due diligence by really staying in your why, by living your why, by cultivating your why through your story. And that's what will increase your energy. And even before you put out a help wanted ad, I want you to think about telling your story, sharing your story, getting yourself into an energetic zone where you are on fire about what it is that you are about. And if when you read your vision and when you share your vision and share your story, it doesn't get you excited and it doesn't get you enthused, you have to ask yourself a very important question. And if you're ready for this question, go ahead and type in, "I am ready, Julie, for this question." But you've got to ask yourself this question about your vision. Ready? This question is my vision big enough? And sometimes I think about this when I get burnt out with my vision or thinking about things. I'm like, is it big enough? And then when I expand it to a whole other level, and I think about creating, right now we're in the process of relaunching our membership site. And my vision for that membership site is to have it be the largest online community, worldwide community of childcare owners and directors are going to be gathered at Childcare Business Success. When I think about that, I get really excited because I think about all these people who are struggling with so many different issues in the childcare industry, and they have this one place where they can come to meet, number one, each other, our followers, who I think are the best people in the world, and then number two, really learn strategies, skills, and ideas that are going to help them reach a whole new level of success. That really excites me. So when you think about your vision, think about, is it big enough? And I once heard Steve Harvey saying that if your visions, if people don't look at you like you're crazy when you're communicating your vision, it's not big enough. So go ahead and make that vision big, and then use your story as the backbone to really breathe life into that vision every single day. And how you bring your story to life, think about this. Think about, how can your story manifest itself in your childcare program? If your story is about your search for childcare with your little baby, can there be a picture of you and your baby as one of the foundational pieces, the wall hangings in your childcare program that your staff and you can look at every single day to be reminded of your why you do what you do? Think about that. Then also think about other tangible items that you could place around your childcare program to really cultivate your story. So one of our childcare owners who I worked with, her inspiration was thinking about shoes. It was thinking about the little shoes that children, that babies wore, that how they grow out of those shoes so quickly and grow into school-ager shoes and teenager shoes. So we talked about having shoes around her childcare program to remind her how quickly and how short of a time these children will be in our care as they move and transition from age group to age group to age group. So those shoes were a tangible item and a reflection and a representation of her vision. Makes sense? Let me know if you've got some questions. So let's see here, Deidre. There are 14 million people in the LA area. Why can't I have the same vision for all of them? Well, you can have the same vision. You can have a vision that says, every single person in our county is going to have access to high quality childcare. But at the same time, you can't worry about your vision or your story just being focused on everyone. Your story is probably going to, when you tell it right, it's probably going to detract some people from you. It's probably going to have people go, not so much for me. And then you're going to have other people who are just totally drawn in to who you are when you share and when you reveal the story. So you don't want to go for everybody. You want to go for the right fit for your childcare program when telling your story. I'm going to see if there's any other comments down here. Okay, got lots of I'm readies. Awesome. Okay. All right, I see Tony on standby. So I'm going to see. Tony, what do you think? Do we have our sound figured out? Maybe? All right. I'm going to put you up here to the studio. If anything, you are seeing Tony's face a couple times. And you'll get to... Oh, there he is. Tony, hi.
Magic. You know why? Because now I'm on my smartphone. It works.
So maybe... well,
I've got 3 PCs here. So, but that was called tenacity. I've got a little tenacity to be on this.
Awesome. Well, we're thrilled to have you here. And as you know, we're talking about stories. We're talking about vision. So let's jump into your story. You are a multi-site childcare owner, and you started somewhere. So tell us how many years ago you started, and why did you start your childcare program? And then we're also going to let people know about Inspire 360, which is a company that you founded to support other childcare owners. But I want to dig into your story a little bit while we've got some time left.
Absolutely. So I'll try to be quick about it. I'm getting a little gray behind the ears now. It's been about 30 years altogether. And yeah, don't go, whoa, but it's true.
Well, I say I've been in this for 20 years. So, you got me beat a little.
Well, so my background is that I never was educated on early childhood. I was in a market that was in corporate America for a little while, and then I decided to become an entrepreneur. So back in the mid-90s, I actually left corporate America and I started from the ground up a staffing company, and I really got to know about people. I also started one of the very first job boards that was regional in the company, and that was orlandojobs.com back in 1994. Wow. Back then, there was only the Monster board, they called it, and maybe 1 or 2 others. After that, there was a flurry of them, and I was sort of ahead of the time. Matter of fact, I had billboards in I-4 in Orlando that had about our website, but people didn't even have PCs on their desk. So that's a little bit ahead. But fast forward from there, after we had our first child, I decided to get back into corporate America because there was a desire to move back to New York from Florida. And I got into the learning industry. And what I mean by that is the adult learning industry for corporate America. And I was doing leadership training and e-learning and all those kind of things. And I went through a few years, which I ended up with Pearson Education, which is one of the world's largest educational companies for early learning, K through 12, for advanced degrees, as well as getting into adult learning, which I actually worked in. Moving forward from there, I was actually with a company by the name of Ernst & Young, which was one of the top 4 consulting firms in the world in running a practice, but still doing learning and development and eventually into HR services. So I won't bore you with one of the 2 acquisitions that we went through, but what occurred was I spent a lot of time on a plane. I spent a lot of time going from coast to coast, also overseas, was in London, was in Europe, would be over there, and everybody goes, well, that's wonderful. I go, but yeah, when you're there for business, not always so wonderful. I wanted to see my boys grow up, and so I was looking at different businesses. I came about a business as someone said, hey, I am interested in showing you a company that you'd be very interested in. It's a good opportunity. You can make a lot of money. But But my style is that I have to get up in the morning. I have to really want to get out of bed and really want to make something happen. And so I saw him for breakfast and he said, well, it's childcare. And I said, no, thank you. I said, I have no interest. I don't know enough about it. But then I said, he goes, well, you can make some good money. I go, yeah, but that's not my point. I do need to want to really have passion about it. So we walked away from that. And a couple of weeks later, I decided to just go on a whim and go take a look at some of these centers. And I walked in, and I think it was a 3-year-old who opened the door for me without anybody else around them. Not a great sign. There were kids walking around, people not really caring. It was barely babysitting. But I've always been for the underdog. And for that reason, since I've always been for the underdog, I started looking and going, you know what? We could really make these into learning centers. And so I decided to acquire them. And back almost 10 years ago now, I acquired 5 centers that were strictly barely daycare and made them into early learning centers, renaming them Inspire Learning and Childcare. Okay, inspiring because we were inspiring people and kids, and we were making it about learning. And so we wanted to make sure that it was about care too. So we are starting to follow the vision. And that vision was really for a better place for kids and a place where they were learning from infants all the way on up. So as I started that process, I came in and acquired another location. I also operationalized the business. My backbone and background was all about operationalizing businesses. So where I had acquired the businesses, and we were probably at 5 to 9% margin when I initially acquired it, I was able to get the businesses in a couple of years to over 30% margin, which is a huge opportunity. I look at it as a lot of people will say, well, I'm full of enrollments. And I will say, well, that's good. However, how is your EBIT? Because a lot of people will also say, but I'm not in it for the profitability. But my belief is with myself and the businesses that I run that if you are profitable, then you can do amazing things for your staff. You can do amazing things for your kids. You can do great things for the parents. So it is about putting your oxygen mask on first. If you take care of yourself, you can then take care of the others around you. So I really looked at how can we operationalize those businesses to the best effect. And I was able to do it. But one of the things that was going through my head the whole time was I watched as there were kinder cares, or I shouldn't name any of the large corporate ones, as well as large franchises that were very structured, as well as the very large non-for-profits. And it felt like there was always an unfair advantage. It always felt, since I had all these centers, I still didn't have any buying power. I knew that the nonprofits could buy things without having to pay tax. I knew that there were HR, onboarding, training programs, marketing programs that these corporate entities brought to these franchisees or to these satellites to the corporate. And I really felt for the independent owner, we're really it's an uneven scale. So as I considered what was going on, I started to think about what if we could put together a solution that would support the independent owners, something that could really help them get the same kind of leverage that the large national corporations or the large chains have. Nothing against them, but it's nice for the independent owners, whether you have 1 location, whether you have 8 locations, that you have an opportunity to truly compete on an operational basis. You have the ability to do the things for your staff. You have the ability to do the things to support your team, to engage your staff, to engage your families, to really have vetted providers where you don't have to go out and try to boil the ocean, find out who works all the time. You have someone who can help you bring those things. And that's why I invented about 2 years ago a company called Inspire Care 360. And that was because I believe that high tides raise all ships. And that means that the members that we started to look to go where independent owners between one location all the way up to 20 locations, who really are those who are part of like Julie's group here that I got a wonderful chance to meet in Boston, some amazing people. And I recognized a common thread prior to that, but was we all had the same issue.
Right.
Onboarding was always a challenge. Also, I also noticed that we didn't have the kind of resources, calling attorneys all the time. We had the challenge that understanding how to manage your reputation is a really daunting thing. And then having the ability to negotiate these national programs. So that's where Inspire Care 360 came about, Julie.
So we got 2 stories for your childcare program and Inspire Care 360. So that's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit more about Inspire Care 360, because I believe that there is power in numbers. And I know as a small business owner, it's always like you're looking for groups to join where it can really make a difference in your business. And I truly believe that you've created something that has the power of unity, with childcare providers joining forces, so to speak, through your organization, to have some tremendous benefits in place for them. So if we were to look at some specifics or some of your top things that childcare owners say, you know, Tony, we really love Inspire Care 360 because, what would those top 3 things or 5 things that they rave about include?
Well, it's a really good question, Julie, and thank you for asking it. You know, the way I like to position IC 360, to give it its nickname, is that if you think about like a Costco membership or a club membership, you join a club or you join Costco, and because you do that, you don't buy everything. You see that there's many options for you. If you go to some type of a club, at a club, you may have swimming there, but you also may have paddleball there. You might have racquetball. You may have something else you want to do, but you oftentimes don't do everything, but you have a membership to get you access. Some of those things come free along with the membership. Some of those things have an extra charge, but you know what? They're less expensive than you ever could find on the street. They're very focused towards what you want, especially as a independent childcare owner, and they are readily available by people who understand the industry. So the big thing as of recent, where people have been coming to us and saying, oh my God, we really need that, is we've been very much focused on employee engagement. And what I mean by employee engagement is trying to increase the time that staff are with you and the length of time. Turnover in our industry is about 40% for our staff. That's huge. Each staff member turnover on average is between $4,000 and $10,000 per person that we turn over. If you think about it, if you just happen to have 20 staff, that means 8 members on average are turning over a year. Then give them a $4,000 value on the low end. That's money that comes right out of your pocket. If you're able to take that 40% and lower it down to 15 or 20% and slow that revolving door, you've made a huge impact. So one of the things that people have really been excited about working with us is how we have worked with creating the journey of the employee life cycle, of getting people on board, getting them ramped up quicker, faster, sooner, and getting them engaged and on the same page as what the company's trying to do. How we do that is we start first with values. We actually work with our members and the owners to say, it's not just about your own values. It's about what are your values combined with the values of your current staff, combined with your parents' values. Boiling those down, getting those together to understand these are really the values of why everybody's together there. And then from there is infusing that into things that we start basically with your handbook. And your handbook is one of the very first things that people should be reading to understand what your expectations are, what your values are, and we infuse it in there. And then we put it into an e-course that gets out to all of our members, that's customized for our members, and they send it out as many times as they like. They send it out for not only the initial time a staff member comes to them and it just joins the company, but every year we even send it out the 26th of December to have everybody acknowledge it and see the handbook and do it over again. Next we create is a new hire orientation. So as an independent owner, we work with them to get their story as to why they started, what their vision was, why they decided to get into the business, and why they believe they are there in the first place, along with their values. We help identify and create a video with you that gets put into the front end of that new hire orientation. It describes your company, your organization, and it's about 2 hours of foundational training. By the way, the handbook, the new hire orientation, is all considered foundational learning for compliance. But then you get to send that out every time and not try to have the same story over and over again as an owner, which is very time consuming. And also people say, well, you know what? I'd like to just get connected with staff. Well, that's great. Well, you can sit down with your staff and talk to them about them as to what's important for them. From there, the next step of that is we go to operational procedures. It's a huge thing that us as independent owners have oftentimes struggled with. I know I did for a long time. And operational procedures is huge. You know, how do you change a diaper? How do you clean the diaper table? How do you conduct a circle time? How do you conduct a fire drill? All these elements, from the teacher administrative procedures to emergency to administrative operational procedures. These are all put into an e-course also. And this is customized. This is your content blended with templates, so you don't have to put a ton of effort in, but it looks 100% yours, because it is. And then it comes out in an e-course. And the other piece of that onboarding is really a new hire mentoring program. And that really gets to the application knowledge, where people really learn, where they're applying their knowledge on the job, because they actually go out and then you have them actually doing those tasks. They're actually conducting a circle time. They're actually conducting the fire drill. They're actually doing and changing a child. So they're actually applying their knowledge, and then they're coming back in. They're not just being shown, and they come back into the e-course and put that in. That has shown that your retention over doubles. So bringing that 40% retention down to about 20% retention is a huge uptick. And it also automates. It creates time and money efficiency like crazy. The other thing that we do is we help you define a roadmap to understand what is your reputation with your staff. What is your reputation with your families? And what is the reputation in the community? And why we talk about it this way is, if you hear about that, and we've all heard about it before, is the parents went to a toddler birthday party. Oh, and they were talking about your center. You know, they've done that with my centers and what have you. Are they talking positive and trying to recruit in? But are they saying, oh, I can't believe what's going on there. The communication's not working, what have you? What is that story? When your staff, if you happen to be like at a Panera Bread or the like, and you're sitting there and behind the booth, you have another staff member of yours, a teacher, who's talking to one of their friends. Are they trying to recruit that person? Or are they saying, I just can't believe what's happening, what's going on in the center? Are they dogging the center? And what we talk about here is, how do we create a model with you for you to take back that conversation, for you to start to manage your reputation with your staff? How do you manage your reputation with your families and get ahead of it so it doesn't own you, but you own it? And the last big piece is, we really work hard to create national agreements that you normally would otherwise not get. These are with office supplies, where you can get 15% greater than any price. Whatever your contract price is, we will beat it by 15%. Whatever for discount school supply, the 800-pound gorilla, everybody uses discount school supply. We have a discount that we negotiate with them nationwide that's 18% off of everything they have. That is, whether they have it in stock, out of stock, if it's the other elements that they offer, that's a great deal, because once in a while you get a 20% off coupon off a couple items, or the red tag. This is all the time. For food, for credit card processing, for sanitation, we're going to property management, for landscaping, and for plowing, and for maintenance and janitorial. So we're really looking at what are ways that we can be in it all together, that we could take our buying power and make it a solution that makes a ton of sense. And the last thing with that is, we looked at a way, what can we do to make it as a membership that really has such a huge return on investment that it makes just complete sense. So that's how we focused on it, Julie. And, I would say between the onboarding, the technical support, we also have all kinds of HR services that come with it. It all comes with exit interviews that come with it. And we can even talk about exit interviews for the hour. So it's wonderful, the number of things that we do, but a lot of stuff comes with the program.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And if people are interested in more information, Tony, where can they go to learn more?
So one of the things is if you go to inspirecare360.com, on that page, what will either start playing or you can look at it halfway down the page is an animation. It's about a 2-minute animation, and it really gives you an overview. Also, there's a lot of detail there on the different programs. You will also see there's another video on another page that talks about the day in a life of how things can go crazy. It's actually a pretty funny video that some of my friends actually helped shoot. But there's a lot of great detail there. Of course, you can always reach out to me, and I'm sure you can get a hold of me through Julie, or I'll send out my email after, and I'd love to talk with you. But yeah, and if it's something that if it works, it's wonderful. If it's not for you, we understand that too. But we're here because I think there's a real opportunity for us independent owners to really work together, to really take advantage of the opportunity that we have in working together.
I absolutely agree, and I encourage everybody to check it out. And Tony, let me ask you, when you were an owner, if you knew about a service, well, you still are an owner. So when you were an owner without having Inspire Care 360 in place, let me rephrase that. When you were an owner without having that company in place, was there a time where you were struggling with something that you really wished for a service like this with what you put together?
Oh yeah, I once did, and maybe if I come to one of your shows, I'll talk to one of your groups about this. I called it the near-death experience of a childcare business. And back when I acquired my second childcare business, even though I had several under my belt, I had a situation where a staff member who was the director, who was a former assistant director, became the director. She and her close-knit group of friends who were staff members, not everybody, were not a cultural fit between myself and the rest of the staff members. They decided at the first year, I let them sort of do their own thing, and I wasn't sure about how to handle it. I wasn't sure on getting people up to speed. I noticed that we had families as well as new staff members come in and leave just as quick. And I'm like, this is sort of crazy. Number one is I didn't have any good training to get people up to speed. I had no new hire orientation other than what we did once a quarter by bringing everybody together. And it was way after they already been on board. But then when I had an issue happen, which was that director, after I finally told her in October of the following year that she needs to sort of get on board, now that I've given her almost a year to try to run her own program, I need her to be on board with the rest of us. She decided that that's not where she was going to go. So one day in January, she decided to quit and have 5 other staff members quit on the same day. We were wildly out of ratio. I was in the toddler room for 2 weeks. I was in the morning almost having going, I can't breathe. How am I going to make this business survive? I had to call my attorney, all the time about HR issues. I ran up huge attorney bills. If you had Inspire Care 360, we have HR advisors that are 10 plus year SPHR that are available a phone call or a chat away, unlimited amount of times all throughout the day. That's huge. That's no additional. That comes with. The other thing that happened is those staff members, because she had said that if she leaves, she said that business is going to go under without me. Well, she also tried to help that business go under without me by going on to review sites. She also called parents and said, you should leave that business. She was really trying to hurt the business. If I had something like Inspire Care 360 where I owned my reputation, I knew what to do with my staff to stay positive in tough times, and then also, which I came about when I would get a negative review, I wasn't exactly sure how I should handle it. Well, part of what you get with Inspire Care 360 is you get access to crisis management. If you have a situation that goes wrong or goes awry, and you never know, it works like almost like an insurance policy. But what comes with Inspire Care 360 is if you have an issue, whether it be like this, where you have a bunch of people walk on and you have to address the parents, or let's say, hopefully nothing ever happens, that something occurs where, I don't know, a news reporter comes in and lures one of your children out and decides to do a news story on it, which is not unheard of. Having any of these things, how do you handle the press when the press is going to come and has a microphone in front of you? What do you say? We're talking at that point, that's the life of your business. And when you think of each child being at $10,000 a year, if you have 100 kids, that's $1 million in revenue overnight that could disappear because of a crisis. So part of what I put into Inspire Care 360 was crisis management. I partnered with a company that has worked a long time with childcare. We then brought them into our fold and taught them as much as we could. We had them speak with licensors. We had them speak with different elements of the community, all about childcare. And then they became part of our crisis management team. So if there ever is a crisis, you call, pick up, you get to speak to our childcare crisis team. I wish I had that, because first off, they could have calmed me down. They could have gotten me off the cliff. But second, then they could have helped me communicate better and also think through these things and help me think through how should I best handle it so I stay on the right side of the PR. I eventually earned my way back. I eventually was able to come back and determine that, you know, we have the fortitude, we have the tenacity, we can rebuild this, and we did. We rebuilt and made it better than ever. But honestly, that incident was the fertilizer, Julie, that made Inspire Care 360. Because I felt as an independent owner, even though I'm a guy who's 6'4", okay, who had 5 childcare centers, 2 I consolidated since, but which was actually for good profitability. But since I put those together, I felt helpless as an independent owner. I didn't have anybody to go to other than other owners. And they would try to give me some advice and guidance from what they had, but I never had that back office. I didn't have that management support. I didn't have that team that says, this is what you do, this is how you handle it, here's the expert, it's all here under one roof. So that's why I put Inspire Care 360, and that's why we're actually doubling in size every 2 months right now.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Yeah, you know, and what a powerful service to have in place, because these are concerns and challenges that I've been hearing in my 20 years of consulting and mentoring in this industry is, you know, how do we deal with this when we're alone? How do we deal with this when we don't have the funding to go and have all kinds of legal help and HR help and all of these different pieces, which you so elegantly put together into Inspire Care 360. So Tony, let's go ahead and give your information again, and then we're going to announce our prize winners and wrap up this episode of the Childcare Business Success Show. So where can people find out more again?
Well, great. And again, Julie, thank you for your tenacity of waiting for me to get through all my HR problems. So again, you can reach me at Tony, Tony, at inspirecare360.com. Okay, a little bit of a long name, but if you put into your web browser, inspirecare360.com, you'll get the website, or Tony at inspirecare360. You'll get an email to me, and then we'll absolutely engage you and start having a conversation to see if we can be helpful.
Sounds fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll come on and join us again, and we'll share maybe some different parts of your story on a future show and some more strategies and ideas, because Tony is a wealth of information. So I encourage everybody to reach out to him and at least have a conversation and see if there might be something there with Inspire Care 360 that can really help you create the childcare program, the dreamy childcare program that you desire. So Tony, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Julie.
You're very welcome. All right. Make sure you give Tony an email and check out inspirecare360.com. And Tony, it was a pleasure having you here. So thank you very much. I know we're running over with this show, so I want to make sure that we get our prize winners announced. And Jana, I know that Loretta has left the studio. So if you could just go ahead and maybe you could just go ahead and put those in the comments for me this evening. And I'll put on my glasses here so I could read and see who our winners are. All right. So Jana also put Tony's information for everybody. Oh, okay. Oh, our brownie winner. I'm seeing it come through Facebook. All right. So who wants to know who the brownie winner is? The yummiest brownies on the planet go to. Ready? Our drum roll. I should have had Tony stay on to help me with the drum roll. But the brownies go to Mindy. Congratulations, Mindy. You are the winner of our brownies. And how about Mindy Olson? How about our marketing video? I'm going to pop over here and see it. John, I'm sure, has sent me in a message. Okay, so it looks like, is that our person? I'm not going to say it yet. Okay, so the winner of our marketing video for the most engaged group member of the week goes to Angela. Is that our Angela Thrakill? It might be our client, so Jana can confirm that. But Jana will be sending you a prize claim form so that you can get your brownies. And Mindy, I know you've gotten several brownies from us before. And she says, yay, thank you. Yes, this is our Angela. Okay, so congratulations, Angela. You get the marketing video. I'm just checking through some comments here. And Tony, I know he's live still in our studio, and this is for you. Mindy says, I heard your story in Chicago last year and loved hearing it again tonight. Thanks for sharing. All right, and we have lots of hi Tonys for you. So yeah, let me see here. Tara says, I have my story framed and hung on the wall in my parent corner. Brilliant. And also remember, your story can be newsworthy too. And the press is always looking for stories to print. So pick up the phone, get to build relationships with the people in your community who are press or editors or press photographers, and get your story out there in print in the newspaper. And then you could actually take those newspapers, buy up all the copies, and mail them out to people who toured your program but didn't enroll, and say, look, we were featured in the paper, thought this might be of interest to you. So you could keep creating that interest even after somebody has toured. So there's lots of different things that you can do. But that's awesome, Tara. Nice to hear that. All right, lots of comments coming in. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. So I'm going to wrap it up because we are over. Let me go ahead, hide this. Ta-da. So next week we are going to be on break. I'm going to be keynoting out in North Carolina, so we won't be having a show next Monday, but I will be back the following Monday evening at 6:30. And if you're in North Carolina and coming to the NCLCCA conference, let me know. Maybe we could have dinner together while I'm out there. But I will be presenting on Saturday my keynote, Who Motivates the Motivator, as well as parent and staff engagement strategies that will leave will leave you with zero competition and zero open spots. So really excited about that one. All right. Oh, Tara says, funny you say that. Yep. You say that I just called the paper today to get the word out. Thank you for confirming. You are welcome. Share that story, Tara. It is very powerful. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Childcare Business Success Show. I'm Julie Bartkus, your workplace transformationalist, best-selling author of Childcare Business Success. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be here with you this evening. And I'm so glad Tony was able to join us for a little bit, as well as our Chief of Happiness, Loretta. If you're not yet connected in our group, make sure you get on over to our group page. Tony's a member of that group, and Loretta is highly engaged over there as well, cheering everybody on. So whether you need a compliment or just a lift for the day, we are there to support you. So Jana will drop the link again for you, Childcare Business Success. Come join us in the group. And I'm committed. My vision is to make it the largest international community of childcare owners and directors. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I'm Julie Bartkus, and I'll see you soon. Bye.